Hi, everyone. This is Margene Anderson, and I'm going to share with you some key takeaways from two of the resources that we looked at for Module 2B. The first one is colleges face increasing international student visa issues, and that is Wong 2019, and that was in the Atlantic. And the second one we'll talk about today, or I'll talk about today, is what are intercultural competencies. And this was featuring Darla Deerdorf from Duke University on the Fresh Ed podcast. So, the Institute of International Education reported that international student enrollment in the U.S. colleges fell by 7% during the 2017 and 2018 school year. This is after a decade of growth. The year before, we saw a 3% decline as well. So there are many factors that may deter students from deciding to come to the U.S. for schooling. Of course, things like cost and campus climate, safety concerns. However, college presidents are also concerned that the Trump administration policies and messaging regarding immigration are both literally and figuratively turning students away. In fact, the Institute's survey found that 83% of campus administrators who responded to the survey, of course, considered the delay or outright denial of student visas as a contributing factor for the decrease in enrollment. Navigating the new policies has shifted the focus of international services offices while massively increasing staff workloads, according to this survey and according to interviews conducted by Wong. As Christy Manger, I hope I said that right, of Tulane University noted, the amount of immigration changes during the last 3 years has been exponential. Many administrators believe that the 2017 memorandum, which was issued by President Trump and said heightened screening and vetting of application for visas and other immigration benefits, resulted in a growing bureaucracy regarding visas, including an increase in the type of visas that are issued and the ensuing clerical demands those changes have placed on international student services offices. One of the issues is that the visa approval system seems to be more arbitrary based on the kinds of rhetoric and policies that are issued perhaps by tweet, perhaps by statements coming from the White House. They seem to be more arbitrary than standardized, which has led to longer processing times because people aren't quite sure how to address each of these new statements. And further complicating the situation with visas is the ban on immigration from 6 Muslim majority countries. So the increasing workload surrounding visas and helping students work through the visa process. Institutes of higher learning are actually responsible for making sure people are in good standing with their visas. So the increase of work has appeared to cause student services offices to shift their priorities and move away from traditional support services like English tutoring, workshops, and social programming. With the added uncertainty around visas and the approval process, international student services offices have also had to help students manage their anxiety and fear, which puts a lot of burden on the staff, added burden on the staff and their own emotional well-being. 2 institutions in the article also reported challenges recruiting and retaining international students right from the get-go, while many other institutions included in this report found the need to develop free legal services to help immigrants navigate legal issues related to their visas and immigration status. Although institutions have been advocating for policy change, they haven't been able to create any influence with the current administration. While many aspects regarding immigration policy and international students are out of institutions' controls, institutions can refocus their energies on developing campus community members' intercultural competencies, which is the focus of the Fresh Ed podcast featuring Darla Deerdorf, Executive Director of the Association of International Education Administrators at Duke University. Darla Deerdorf believes educational institutions need to focus on helping students and staff, including faculty, develop intercultural competencies. And she sees this as a critical need, especially in response to the worldwide trend nationalistic and tribalistic viewpoints. Deerdorf defines intercultural competency as the attitude, skills, and knowledge to interact successfully with those from different backgrounds. She believes developing those intercultural competencies is a lifelong process that promotes both internal changes and external outcomes. She's hoping to see when people develop intercultural competencies that they become more flexible in their thinking, more empathetic and adaptable in how we relate to each other. And as an outcome of those changes internally, there is external behaviors that change. So behavior and communication that is effective and appropriate. And she goes on to make an important note that you can be effective in your behavior, you get what you want done, but it may not be appropriate. The participants in Deardorff's survey didn't come to a consensus regarding what constitutes key attitudes, key knowledge, and key skills. However, there was one element all experts in her studies agreed on. The ability to take in and see multiple viewpoints and perspectives is critical. Deardorff noted that some of the trends from her survey were that key attitudes, things like curiosity, a desire to learn more about others, open-mindedness and listening, and respect, valuing each other's humanity. Key knowledge, cultural self-awareness, and some introspective behaviors, the ability to know how to take in and seek out multiple perspectives and viewpoints. Key skills that she identified from her survey was the ability to listen, observe, relate, and evaluate, and make decisions based on those observations and those analyses. Deardorff also found that there was no universal. Deardorff notes that the knowledge, skills, and attitudes that make up intercultural competency is contextually dependent. While the global north is much more focused on intercultural competency as an individual's development, while different regions or cultural backgrounds may be more focused on developing competencies in relation to social structures like communities or existing relationships. Deardorff also believes that higher education can play a greater role in developing intercultural competencies among the members of the community, but also within the initiatives that the institution is pursuing. One key element, there needs to be robust training for educators and staff. She finds that to be a critical component, and I would assume that she means ongoing. She also sees this as a cross-curricular effort for integrating opportunities to develop intercultural competencies. It's not just one service's responsibility for providing that. Intercultural competencies and opportunities for develop them, those need to be woven into learning objectives and into curriculum. There was a question about how do we assess intercultural competencies. One thing that has changed is that the program for international student assessment is now did add in the 2018 assessment of intercultural competencies. Traditionally, the PISA internationally measures is an international measurement of 15-year-old students reading, mathematics, and science literacy. Now, Deardorff does not necessarily think this is the end-all and be-all to assessment, but it's a way to begin the conversation around the subject of how do we assess what intercultural competencies look like. One thing that Deardorff notes is that experiential learning can play a critical role in developing intercultural competencies. She does point out that just sending students abroad, so a study abroad program, does not result in the development of intercultural competencies without intentional and effortful programming. She also notes that within the communities, supported service learning opportunities are a great way for students to develop the skills necessary to work with people from different backgrounds. So that was a very brief summary of two of the resources we read, and you had a chance to look at the summary that Zin provided regarding the first two articles. And from those articles, we have a few discussion board prompts. And I will not only post that, I will post these directly in the discussion board as well.